All right, so we live, y'all. We live. A little late to the party. Feel me? But don't, feel me? Don't worry about it. We're gonna get into it. So, for the people who've been keeping up with the live streams and people who've been keeping up with YouTube in general, I mentioned to y'all. This had to be about like a month and a half ago. I told y'all, I'm like, yo, gas cars is great. You feel me? And I think a lot of manufacturers are going to do their best to keep them around for as long as they can, right? But I told y'all, the moment these electric car developers and manufacturers find out how to make a car have around 5, 6, 700 miles of range and make it under 30 to probably under 20 minutes to charge, combustion engines are in trouble. You feel me? And not to the car heads, like for the most part, like people like us in a sense, but to the people who just need a car to go to point A to point B. You feel me? Now, you think there's a lot of electric cars on the road now, but the moment they find out this technology, that's when they're gonna go crazy with it. You feel me? So now the title of this video, we speaking of Mercedes Benz. You feel me? Now Mercedes is trying to get their steps and their feet in this electrical car field, like seriously now. And I think they're doing it very strategic. I ain't gonna lie. I think this is the smarter way to do it. You feel me? I think a lot of people came out and just jumped out the window and was like, yeah, I'm gonna jump out and make my flagship model an electric car, which is crazy. You feel me? Like, I don't understand why you would do that. But what they're doing, as you'll see now, when we check out the screen, they're making the new CLA all electric. Now, why didn't they do this out the gate before they did that whole EQS, all of that BS? I don't know. But this right here makes sense. The people who were in the market for CLAs, they weren't people who would have something to lose. For example, going from a C63 with a V8 to then going to a 4-cylinder. You feel me? Those people, that market, you just slapped them in the face. You feel me? People who was buying Mercedes that appreciated them, they was like, yo, what are you doing? And that really turned a lot of people off from the brand of Mercedes. But now they're like, okay, we're going to drop. So I don't know if y'all seen, we'll talk about that too. They dropped the E53 AMG and they gave it a twin turbocharged, I believe. I think it's twin turbocharged V6 that move close to around 600 horsepower. You can get 600 or it's like 580 if you press a button and go to 6. You feel me? So that made sense. And being that it's an E53 and not an E63, again, that makes sense as well because it allows people to look at it like, well, there might be light at the end of the tunnel. You might spin the block and drop a V8 on it and not just deal with this V6. Who knows? But when you gonna just go straight from a V8 like in the the C63, and then you put a force on the engine in it, like that's just disrespectful. You feel me? So I feel like they're trying to revamp their brand in a way that makes sense for them to be able to say, yeah, we jumped the gun. You feel me? We did a little things that we shouldn't have did, but now we got a better and broader understanding of what we're trying to do and where this thing is going. So now let's make it make sense and appeal to the cars that these people were buying to go to point A to point B. You feel me? Because anybody that got a CLA, they just like Mercedes. They like that it looks good. You feel me? Interior wise. Out exterior, it ain't nothing too crazy, but they look at it like, yo, it's a Benz. They want to carry that Benz key. You feel me? So you can still carry a Benz key even though it's an EV and get to point A to B. You feel me? And I think the CLA is the perfect car for it. So let's get into it. So this article starts off with saying range anxiety will go away. How the Mercedes CLA sedan could upend Americans' views on EVs. Americans have two demands when buying electric vehicles: extended range and rapid charging time. That's what I told y'all. I told y'all this already. Like we spoke on that. You feel me? Make sure you get me in 4K type. You feel me? I told you this. That's what people is worried about. German automaker Mercedes-Benz may have a solution, the upcoming electric CLA sedan. The vehicle available later this year in dealers offers the longest range and best charging performance of any Mercedes model. A Mercedes board member and its chief technology officer had mentioned this. Range and battery charging are crucial elements for buyers. Facts. Another hesitation is charging network availability. Facts. And in some countries, it's the cost of energy. Now that's an X factor, y'all. Personally, that's the biggest issue with this. The more and more people that go EV, they're going to just flip the script and probably turn it into what it is to pay for gas. You feel me? Right now, you have a situation where you can charge off-peak hours and save money. You feel me? But and you're not on your on-peak hours. You're really not saving too much money in comparison to a gas car anyway. So I can only imagine if you give even more and more, hundreds of thousands of people more electric cars, they're probably going to find some type of way to get that out of here. So that could be an issue, which would be stupid because it's like we're just going in a circle. But you already know at the end of the day, it's to fill their pockets regardless. So, you know, you just going to have to pivot however you need to do it. But, and in some countries, all right, so cool. The CLA can travel nearly 500 miles on a single charge, according to Mercedes. Now that sounds great. Will it do it? Most likely not. But it can come close. If it even comes close to 500, that's a very, very good improvement in comparison to a lot of other electrical cars that's out right now. Underneath the sedan shell is an 800-volt electrical architecture, which allows the 48-volt lithium-ion battery to recoup roughly 200 miles in 10 minutes. That's major. A lot of people not doing that right now. DC fast charging up to 320 kilowatt is possible too. My bad, I'm messing up. Some customers wish charging was as fast as filling up a gasoline car. Of course, it's our vision for an EV to charge like fuel. We're pushing the limits of what is possible with the CLA. Range anxiety will go away. Once again, it sounds good, but will y'all really do that though? And you see the car, I think this is definitely an improvement from what it used to be. I mean, the CLA was never attractive to me, but what Mercedes has done, which is smart but also lazy at the same time, is they managed to say, what car do y'all like the most? Okay, y'all like that? Y'all like that S-Class? All right, I'm going to make everything in our fleet look like the S-Class. It's just going to be smaller. So you like that, you should like this, right? That's technically what they did. But again, this doesn't look bad from what I can see. Schaefer insisted that the latest iteration of the CLA can change Americans' attitudes on EVs. The company, however, is not entirely abandoning internal combustion. So like I mentioned before, the E53, they just dropped that. They didn't even drop the E63 yet. So what does that tell you? They ain't gonna make that electric. They can't. They'd be stupid. The CLA will also be sold as a high-performance hybrid next year. Interesting. Customers have the flexibility. It's the best of both worlds. I agree. Official Environment Protection Agency range estimates for the CLA are coming. The current numbers advertised by Mercedes are based on the European WLTP standard for measuring fuel consumption and range. Mercedes is also in the process of building 350 kilowatt proprietary charging stations across the U.S. for its customers, which, again, it sounds good. It sounds good. So, for example, what a lot of people have been doing, or what Tesla has been doing, and I know a lot of people hate Tesla right now, but whatever, we ain't gonna get into that. But they've been allowing their chargers to be used across multiple platforms of other electrical vehicles. So for Tesla people, it could be an issue sometimes because it's like, hey, what are you doing over here? You don't even have a Tesla. These is for us, and we already packed. But in the long run, it could potentially lead to more money, which can then lead to more charging stations in different areas where there are not a lot of charging stations. So it's like, no matter what, we can use more electric stations throughout the world in general, just because they'll never equate to the gas stations that's out right now. So that could potentially expedite the process because they're getting more money coming in, so they could potentially buy more. So that could be their main objective, who knows? Or they could just be tied to getting everybody to go electric, which I mean is understandable, but I think it would be more so the first than the second. Um, okay, where was we at? Okay, cool. So, an EV specialist and contributing editor at Car and Driver said EVs are evaluated differently in the U.S. The EPA's stringent testing criteria could mean a 20% to 30% reduction in the CLA's quoted range. See what I'm saying? Plus, real-world scenarios could affect optimistic charging speeds. See, at least you being transparent, y'all. Like, don't tell us, yo, the sky gonna be golden and you're gonna get gold tomorrow, but then not tell us that's if it rains and the heat is gonna be at a certain degree, then you'll get the money. Because if it don't do that, then you ain't gonna get it all. Like, you feel me? Like, lay it on the table, let us know. Because again, if it said that they're gonna do 500 range with this electric car, 9 times out of 10, when you add the battery degradation to it, you probably gonna do closer to like 440. You feel me? 450 maybe. But still, that is actually not bad for an electric car. You see what I'm saying? There's not a lot of gas combustion cars that's doing that 430, 450 miles on one tank. Some can, but not many. You feel me? Especially cars that are fast cars. You see what I'm saying? You might get that in an economy car, but not a fast car that's actually fun to drive. So that could be a difference maker. The CLA's touted charging time comes with a bucket of asterisks, which is true. The battery has to be preconditioned. That's a fact. Or warmed up to the right temperature. There has to be charging stations. There has to be a charging station that can deliver 800 volts consistently. Again, that's true. The ambient temperature has to be right. I don't know how realistic that charging statement is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could respect this. You can respect it. Like, whenever there's so much yes men, you feel me, it never works. Because it's like, bro, if we just go with everything that you're saying and we fall in the ground, we gonna be falling to the ground because we had nobody else that was saying, yo, you need a rope to go down there. Don't do that because you're gonna fall on the ground. You see what I'm saying? So he's asking the right questions and pointing out things that's really important. Volker, however, suggested that the CLA could become the company's first volume EV. I agree, because that's the car that should have been the EV from the jump. You feel me? Like, why you doing all this other stuff and putting huge screens? Like, that should have never been your concern. Whatever. Mercedes EQ series has not sold like gangbusters. Not at all. Here, and they are expensive, which is stupid. The company, though, has learned a lot from its first generation of EVs, which I believe. Mercedes also has an easier audience to sell EVs to. Their customers are educated and more willing to try new things. There's definitely some truth to that. Pricing of the new CLA models have not yet been announced, but Volker said the Trump administration tariffs on foreign automakers could make the entry-level model even more expensive. The current CLA model starts at $44,000 in the U.S. So that right there is very important, because I'll be honest, I would never spend 40 anything on a CLA. That's just crazy to me. There's a lot of different options you can have for that if we just dealing with the gas car. Now, if you're dealing with an electric car, I'm still not going to spend that money on it, because again, there's still more competition that you can buy for it. But if you're doing 500 miles of range and it's tested and we have proof of it, it definitely does become more enticing. And I can only assume that would possibly hold better value than some other electric car brands, because, you know, you have some car manufacturers who are making electric cars, economy electric cars, and then some who are making super luxury electric cars. And as far as Tesla goes, you already know they're following a minimalistic plan, and they're not doing too much on the interior to really draw in a lot of the people who love luxury items. You feel me? They're just bringing in the people who are in this niche, who just wants, again, a point A to point B car that's nice, but it doesn't have to be the nicest thing on the interior. You feel me? So I think especially right now would be a great time for Mercedes to really follow this plan and drop it, because as you see, there's a lot of people who are hating on Elon Musk. There's a lot of people who are hating on Tesla right now. And Tesla up to this point has never had a comparable person in position to be valid competition for them to really make them step their game up. Now in China, that's a whole different story. We're not even going to talk about them yet. But in China, they have EVs that can kill what we got out here. You feel me? But now, as you see, we talking about tariffs. You know, a lot of them cars will never come out here because that would cost them a lot of money on the back end, and it would force the U.S. to really lock in and be like, yo, we need to go crazy because they just making us look like stupid. They making us look out of touch. They making us look like we never knew what we was doing in the first place. You feel me? So when it comes to electric cars, they know what they're doing. So they kind of gotta pick it up. But this is a good sign in the right direction. And again, we're not pro electric everything over here, but it's cool to know that technology is going in the right direction, possibly for things like this to be better than what they are now. You feel me? Like, that's really what it is at the end of the day. So Vice President of Data and Analysis at JD Power said the CLA has many advantages over its competitors, including the Tesla Model 3. The numbers are spectacular, quite frankly, which is, I agree. We're seeing now the evolution of EVs. Mercedes can't pack any more into this vehicle. There are very few downsides. One potential drawback, it's not an SUV. Americans' interest in sedans continues to shrink, according to whatever. It won't satisfy everyone's utility needs. Excuse me. But for anyone looking to buy an EV sedan, they should check out this vehicle. Battery electric vehicles make up 9.6% of the U.S. market right now, up nearly 2% from the same period a year ago. What kind of name is this, bro? Gemini predicts 2025 will be a reset year for EVs despite the upward tick in sales. There's some truth to that. It's a tough environment for EVs, he said. Even Tesla has been aggressive with its pricing. Americans are learning to come around to EVs, but it's taking a long time. So I think I mentioned this in another video as well. So the issue with this is, if the top person who's selling everything says, you know what, I see a lot of y'all little people out here trying to eat, and y'all got some good deals. I have the better product, and I'm going to give the better deal. And maybe might not have the better product, but I have the more known, talked about product, and I'm going to give them a better deal. So that's kind of what's been happening in the car market right now, and it's kind of been an issue for a lot of different people, including just dealerships in general. When Tesla continues to drop their prices on all of their cars, and they give all of these rebates, and they give all of these deals to jump in them, it makes the competition have to follow suit. Because now Tesla was already hogging a lot of the marginal share when it comes to electric vehicles. So now once you're dropping the prices of those, and these other car manufacturers are trying to get you in their EVs for the first time, but you may have already had one Tesla, possibly, who knows. Now when they're doing all of these rebates and all of these deals, you're gonna cash in with them. You feel me? Now, mind you, if you hate Elon and Tesla, that's a whole different topic, which is why I also feel like this is the best time for this right now. But still, if that's not really a big issue for you, you're going to jump into a Tesla. You feel me? Because now it just makes sense. It makes a lot of sense financially to jump into Tesla right now. Even a newer one. Not to buy, but to lease. You feel me? So if you got lease deals, you got finance deals, you got all types of deals, you're now taking money off of the table for these other car manufacturers. And now when you do that, they can only try to compete while reducing their prices. And when you do that, then the people who initially paid top dollar for these top trim electric cars are looking back like, yo, what is you doing? Yo, my car was $80,000. Now it's worth $50,000 because you keep slashing these prices in half. And now people can jump in the market and get a new car like mine for half the price. And you keep killing the resale value of these cars. And I think more than anything, that's what's pissing a lot of people off. So it's like it's a two-edged sword. You feel me? Like you're winning on one end, but you're killing yourself on the other end, because the people who really started with you, who took a risk on you, who really spent a lot of money to deal with you and support your product, you kind of like saying, F y'all, I'm for the people who haven't even experienced me yet. And that's really how a lot of business is conducted. And it's unfortunate because without those people, them foot soldiers, to really jump in these cars and spend that big money up front, we never would have known anything. You wouldn't have known that this car could do this or this car can do that, and it looked like this and looked like that. You feel me? We needed those people to be active to do what they did, for the second owners and the third owners to come in and be like, oh, I think that makes sense now. Let me buy that after, the depreciation that hit it. But now, like I said, for them, they in debt thousands of dollars because they jumped out the window and bought it when it was the fresh new thing on the market. And now they looking at the brand crazy because they don't have any more value in their car. You see what I'm saying? So that's the unfortunate thing. And I think that EVs is definitely going to have to find a middle ground there and just stay true to their prices. But which is why we talking about this. I do think this is a step in the right direction because, like I mentioned before, if all EV manufacturers come out and say, yo, at minimum, you're going to get 500 miles. We can go at maximum 700, 800 miles on one charge. And it's only going to take you, 10 to 30 minutes to charge from 0 to 100. You feel me? They start doing that. I think the value of these cars can stay higher because it's really going to be an asset for you to jump in these cars. Because you're going to save thousands of dollars a year, you feel me, just fueling your car up comparison to an internal combustion engine, especially if you have a charger at your house, you feel me? So now you're not even going to a quote-unquote supercharger or something that may cost you a little more. You're able to do that at the house. So really, you'll never have to go nowhere else to charge your car unless you're on like a road trip, you feel me? So I think that can definitely be something beneficial because at the place where we're at now, these cars advertise low threes, sometimes higher fours, but once the battery degradation hits these cars, it's never that. It'll never get to that number. So that's been an issue, you feel me? And that's drawing a lot of people away from electric cars and this whole thing. And I do feel like they should have jumped into it slower because them doing this so quickly, like they knew what they was doing, and like everybody was just supposed to drop all of their gas cars and just go straight electric. I think that was bad. That was bad on all manufacturers' parts, and they just looked at Tesla and it was like, yo, if it's working for them, make it work for me. But it was like it wasn't really like that. You feel me? And I think every brand or car manufacturer should have came out initially with their lowest trim vehicle and said, let's take a sacrifice on this. Let's not spend more money to create something completely new that we don't even know if people know. You feel me? Like, let's not kill our top sports sedan, you feel me, that everyone loved, that had a cult following. Let's not do that. Let's start with our lowest, cheapest trim. Let's make it possibly a hybrid first. And then let's make one electric car out of that. And then let's see how people take that. And then from there, then we can go up the ladder. They started at the top of the ladder and now they trying to come down. Stupid, but whatever, I digress. Range and battery charging times are not the only selling points for the CLA. It's also the first model to operate on the new Mercedes-Benz operating system, making it the most intelligent vehicle built by Mercedes. Owners can easily engage with the vehicle's virtual assistant, which, according to the company, is intelligent, easy to talk to, and empathetic like a friend. See, now when you start doing that, that's when we start like, yo, relax. We ain't looking for all these robots to have genuine conversations with us. We're not looking for our car to understand how we feel and how our day was. Like, now you taking it too far to the right. Like, let's just chill. Give me an electric car that I can save money with, that I don't gotta go to the gas station with, that's also fast and also practical. And let me deal with that. I don't need all this computer stuff talking to me like a friend. I don't want you to be my friend. I want you to be my car. It's simple. What are you doing? That's when they just take it a little too far. So it come with the territory, unfortunately, but that's when it be like, okay. AI will revolutionize the entire user experience. The virtual assistant is superior. Customers will love it. You feel me? Like, once you add that, we can go off on a tangent on that alone, y'all. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, that's not a good way to end this. You feel me? Like, that's not cool. We don't want that. That's extra. We don't see the movies. We know how this story goes. You feel me? So yeah, I'm not big on that part. So yeah, let's we're done with that.